Is cold calling in today's business environment dead? I want you to think about it. And before you answer yes or no, let me share with you some important things on why I personally believe there's more opportunities today to actually be more successful in cold calling than ever before. That's just my personal view. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to debunk the myth of why I believe cold calling is not dead, and why I believe those who say cold calling is dead. I'm going to share some 4 or 5 reasons why I believe they're saying that. I'm also going to share with you why is it still a valuable tool today, and how cold calling can help you become a more powerful, stronger, effective, and dynamic salesperson, real estate agent, entrepreneur, for those who are struggling, for those who are not consistent in selling and producing sales. So this could be a tool that can fix and rehab your weaknesses and make it your strength. I'm also going to share with you why everything we do in life starts off cold and we make it warm and then turn it into hot. Does that make sense? So buckle up, keep an open mind, and this topic is for those of you who are struggling in selling and producing sales, for you real estate agents that are having a hard time not getting listings, or because of the NAR rulings now, you buyers agents are not able to get contracts from the buyers and also commission from the buyer prior to showing new properties. So keep an open mind, embrace it, receive it, and take what you want to out of it. But in my personal opinion, cold calling does work if you're willing to work it, just like anything else. Okay, now, is cold calling dead? I'm going to share with you my personal opinion and my experience why I believe it's not dead. It comes down to the individual. And I'm going to share information with you based on not only my many years of experience and currently today still cold calling, still teaching salespeople how to cold call, still teaching my real estate clients how to cold call, and my other sales clients how to cold call. It comes down to your mindset, because cold calling is not only a tool, it's a mindset, and it's also an attitude. Now, keep an open mind. I'm going to share some things with you why I believe that you should learn to cold call and why it can help you in your real estate career, or if you're selling any other product and services. This may be the reason why you're not being consistent and as a real estate agent getting more listings with a seller or getting contracts with buyers. Okay, so now let me share some analogy with you. Okay, it's a tool. Now, when you look at social media, or the way I look at social media today, I look at it in all of these platforms that we have available today. I like to call them business media. The reason is because they're all businesses online, right? But I like to call them modern day yellow pages. And any of you who go back into time, like I have, you know, yellow pages was the main thing. If you could get your business on the first page of yellow pages, you're doing good, right? So all of these platforms, including Google, Better Business Bureau, you know, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it. To me, they're modern day yellow pages, and it's an opportunity to actually cold call more businesses that might need your services. However, just like anything else, you need to learn how to use certain tools, right? When you become a real estate agent, you just don't become a real estate agent, right? You have to love it. First of all, you have to study and take your exam, right? Once you take your exam, is the license you get going to sell properties for you? No. You have to learn how to use that tool, right? Or that license, which is selling, right? So no matter what you do, you're always selling, right? So here's the analogy. And it may sound corny, but hopefully it gets a point across. I'm sure some of you, if not most of you, drink hot coffee, right? But how does the coffee get hot? First of all, you have to take cold water and you have to heat it up, gets warm, and then it becomes hot and you have hot coffee, right? Let's say back in the day, this environment is different, but let's say there's a woman that you want to court, you men out there, and you're really crazy about her, right? You have to approach her, right? Get her attention. Hopefully your opening and what you say gravitates her so that you can have a conversation with her and you can ask her out on a date, right? But first you were cold. You didn't know her, but you saw her and you wanted to meet her, right? Let's say you're going to a network event. And let's say you're going there by yourself. And let's say you don't know anyone there, but you want to earn business and you want to start a relationship. Everybody there is cold to you. Cold meaning you don't know them. Now, you have to take the approach and make a conversation with someone, right? And that approach has to be engaging. You have to show some value, right? So that the person can reciprocate. But it started cold. And hopefully with your opening, right? You start to warm up the conversation where you go from warm to hot. Now you're building a relationship, right? You started off cold. When you want a hot meal, you go to a restaurant. They cook it, right? Was it hot before they made it? No, everything is cold. So the point I'm trying to make is everything we do in life has a cause and effect from cold to hot, right? Just to make it simple. So I'm going to debunk the myth on why I believe cold call is still a very valuable tool. Again, if you learn how to use that tool. Does that make sense? So there's going to be about 4 or 5 different reasons why people that reject cold calling or that tell people cold calling doesn't work. And I'm going to share with you my opinion and my experience. Those who say that, why I believe they say that. Because if you really learn this tool, you're never at the mercy of having to buy leads, right? I like to call them prospects, but people like to use leads. So we're going to use the word lead and prospect. To me, I like to use the word prospect, but leads. You're not going to be at the mercy of lead brokers where they're going to get you names and numbers and you don't even know one of those numbers still legitimate, number 2, are those people even qualified, right? So those are the main issues. I've never paid for leads in my life. I've always got my own leads, and every single time was cold calling. And then once I get clients, I get referrals. Okay. Now, before I share the 5 reasons, now there may be a time in your career as a real estate agent where you're very successful, where you have a brand name, where business just comes to you. That's a different level, right? However, I know that it took probably many, many years to reach that level. But right now, when you're first starting your career as a real estate agent, I think it's important that cold calling is taught and taught the right way so that they can save a lot of the frustration and the aggravations and the lack of sales over a certain period of time where they can accelerate their learning curve and start being more successful sooner than later. That's just my personal view. Training real estate agents, trust me, I know what I'm talking about. Does that make sense? Okay, why people criticize cold calling, and why do they tell people that cold calling doesn't work and they shouldn't do it? Now, here's my response when people tell me that cold calling doesn't work. Number one is I tell them right off the bat, don't put your limitations on me. If it doesn't work for you, that doesn't mean it doesn't work for somebody else, right? So, for example, there's a lot of different selling strategies. There's a lot of different marketing companies and digital marketing. There's a lot of different SEO situations. Not every strategy works for everyone. So if I have a strategy that works for me and is really successful, that doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to work for everyone else, right? Does that make sense? So am I going to criticize and recommend people not to do it if it doesn't work for me? No, I'm not going to say that. Unless it's a flat out lie and it's a scam, that's different. But if I tried something, right, and I gave it everything that I had and it didn't work, that's because I didn't work it, I didn't know how to work it, and it didn't work for me. But does that mean that it won't work for someone else? Not necessarily. Does that make sense? So that's just my personal view on that. So when somebody recommends that, don't cold call because it doesn't work, I don't think it's fair or right that they should tell people it doesn't work just because it doesn't work for them. Does that make sense? Okay. One of the major reasons I've learned why people don't like cold calling is because they have a fear of being rejected. No one likes to be rejected. So when you're going to make a cold call, right, you have a fear of what the end result already is going to be. The prospect hanging up on you or giving you an objection and rejecting you. Psychologically, that's discouraging. But the problem is you're already going into the call putting what I call that stumbling block before you even start, right? Because what the mind thinks, the mind will take action on, right? So we have a fear of rejection. Does that make sense? Just think about it, because it's scary, right? So keep this in mind. Everything we do in life starts off cold, but we have to take action no matter what happens, right? That makes sense? So the fear of rejection is a very detrimental thing that we put on ourselves, because we're already putting an end result before we even take the action on that. And that could be very crippling. Does that make sense? The second reason why I believe people don't like cold calling or are not successful at cold calling is because they believe and they have the fear that they're bothering someone. Have you ever felt that? Have any of you felt any of these two fears? Share your comments below. Let me know if it's you. Let me know if you agree so far or disagree with my first two statements on that. Now, the fear of bothering someone, here's how I look at it. If I have something of value that I can offer someone, and I don't have a brand name, and I'm not an influencer, but I know I have something of value that I could help a business owner, I feel it is my obligation and my duty to at least inform them of my product and services that's valuable to them. And what that means is you have to go out there and take action. It's like a hook, right? When somebody puts a posting or a 30-second clip, they're using that tool, right? That video is a tool. That post or that content is a tool. And you're hoping that it hooks people, right? So it's cold. Now hopefully it gets warm by getting somebody to respond, right? Cold calling is no different. I think it's more valuable because it's more personal. But you have to take action and overcome those two fears. Fear of being rejected and the fear that you are bothering someone, especially if you have something of value to bring. So for example, if you're a real estate agent and you believe in what you do as an agent, and you have a lot of experience in real estate transactions, successful transactions, you should not have the fear of calling a seller and showing them why they need to hire you as a real estate agent or as a salesperson if you're selling anything else. Think about it. So if you have something of value, right? And even at the end of the call, they don't buy from you. They don't give you a listing. At least you put it out there, and what that does is you start to gain confidence. Because at least you gave it everything you have. And that's what cold calling does. It builds a strong foundation. In my experience training people and for myself, it gives you the confidence to sell your value, to overcome those two fears of bothering someone or being criticized or being rejected or receiving objections. I love all of it. I have no fear of any of that. Does that make sense? So if you have something of value to offer and no one knows who you are, you have to start somewhere, cold and get hot, right? You start a small business, right? As you start to move forward and you're building it right, now you start to get hot, right? You start to build a name for yourself. You start to become an influencer. Now your brand, your name attracts the business. But if you're nowhere near that, you have to earn that. And I believe cold calling does that. Okay, now, what is another reason why people recommend other people not to cold call, why cold calling is dead? Okay, even with artificial intelligence, I still believe cold calling is valuable because at the end of the day, would you rather be talking to or an AI or a real person? Don't you feel deceived when an AI is doing the work and you may not know it? Psychologically, people feel deceived, right? Because people at the end of the day want the warm and fuzzies. And what technology does, it makes everything quick, but it also hinders the warm and fuzzy and the personal attention I believe people deserve. So for me, I use all of this technology as an advantage for me just to have access to more business people. Because I'm always going to call people all the time, no matter what. It's just what I'm good at. Right? Now, the other reason is people are not taught properly how to cold call. They're just not. So the path of least resistance is to say cold calling doesn't work. And that happens a lot in the real estate industry as far as agents are concerned. A lot of agents are not being taught how to sell. They're taught more of, go out there and get a listing and talk about square footage and analysis and what's going on with NAR and all these legal mumbo jumbo. That's important, but it doesn't teach you how to sell. Right? Cold calling does. It's not easy. But if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right? It's not easy. A lot of people go into the real estate industry to become agents, and a high majority of agents are not good, period. But they got their license. What's a license if you can't turn it into money, right? So is the license valuable or you? Or do you put more value on the license than your selling skill, right? So if you're not taught the right way, right, how are you expected to perform the right way? Because the way you're trained is the way you're going to perform, right? And I'll share an example with you. I'll use sports. Let's say a boxer, right? If you're not in the gym training every day, learning how to throw a jab or uppercut or right hook or combination or practicing defense, right? How you expect to beat your opponent? How can you counterpart what they're going to do to you? Right? You can't. So they have to do it every single day because the training is much more difficult than the actual event, right? Yeah, you have to train in cold call, not only making phone calls, but before you make phone calls, you have to train how to cold call, right? If you're not doing any of that, how you expect to be really good at it? It's just discouraging. And I wouldn't do that to anyone. You know, let's say basketball players, right? They have to practice their free throw shots, their jump shots, their defensive skill. They have to do it every single day. Every single day. The right technique, the right follow through, all of it, every single day. It's a fundamental practice. It's how you sharpen your skill. So cold calling is no different. Does that make sense? So people are not taught properly. Now this is going to lead to the last two, right? So if you're not taught the right way, how can you not have fear of rejection? If you're not taught and trained and prepared the right way, how are you not going to have the fear that you're bothering people? You're just making an excuse. You're justifying what's going to come at you. And that's a big fear because you have no basis to defend yourself, right? Does that make sense? So by not being taught right and having these two fears, that creates lack of confidence in your skills. As what? As a potential salesperson, as a real estate agent. Think about it. So as a real estate agent, you go, you study, you take your exam, right? Okay, now you're excited. But are you prepared to go out there and talk with sellers and get listings from the get-go? Are you ready to talk with buyers and get contracts right away? Or are you waiting for them to call you to take an order and become an order taker? Do you see my point? When you learn how to cold call, right, the right way, and you train and prepare the right way, not only does it give you confidence, but it starts to build your skill. You start to be more prepared to handle for sale by owners and buyers and investors. It's a skill because it's going to be taught based on a strong foundation. So you start to gain confidence in your ability to overcome the fear of rejection or objections and the fear of that you're bothering people instead of saying to yourself, I can help this seller. I can help this buyer. I have the value and the skill to do that. With my ability as a real estate agent, as a salesperson, if you don't have confidence, it's difficult. It's a scary thing. Does that make sense? Where does confidence come from? From practice, doing it every day, every day, every day, every day. Training every day, every day, every day. Preparing every day, right? So the lack of confidence in your skills is what gives you the fear of rejection or receiving objections. The lack of confidence in your skills is what gives you the fear that you're bothering someone. The lack of confidence in your skill is because you were not taught properly. So if you're not taught properly, you cannot train properly or prepare properly. Does that make sense? Now, the other one is this. When you don't have training and you're not being prepared, right? Not only do you have fear of rejection, objection, you have the fear that you're bothering someone and you're not taught properly, but it challenges your value as a salesperson or as a real estate agent. Because here you are, you got a real estate license. Now you have to turn that license into value, because the license is not the value. It's just a way for you to legally produce something from that license, which is what? Being a salesperson, not a real estate agent, a salesperson. And for me, the real estate agents that I trained, that I was training before, I taught them the basic fundamentals. This applies to anybody and everyone that wants to be a salesperson. And if you learn it the right way from the beginning, you don't have those fears, because you got to learn it the right way from the beginning. But if you tried it several times and you were taught the wrong way several times, your mind, you have a mental block. You already feel it doesn't work because of all the bad habits you were taught. And even when you're taught, is the way you practice, meaning how many calls you make a day. Are you making the right phone call? Are you targeting the right people? Right? So when you're being challenged and you're supposed to be a real estate agent, right? And people reject you or they object to you, it's because you haven't shown any value to earn their business. And you haven't earned the value because you didn't develop your skill as a salesperson, as a real estate agent, to earn that relationship. So you have the fear of objection and rejection. You have the fear that you're bothering them because they were called by other agents, right? Does that make sense? So if someone tells me, right, and I chat to people online on real estate groups and other sales organizations, and they talk about, cold calling doesn't work. I said, maybe you're at a level that you don't need to cold call, but you can train a sales team to cold call for you, right? So you can train them to be successful from the get-go. For me, I always train my salespeople because I know that's a basic fundamental, right? So I would tell them that, right? But I also tell them, just because it didn't work for you and you didn't know how to work it and you weren't taught right, don't put your weaknesses on me. Don't put your limitations on me. I think that's wrong. I shoot them down real quick because cold calling does work. It is a powerful tool. It's like anything else. You have to learn how to use that tool or that weapon. That's all. So you have to learn to embrace cold calling. Now, for those of you who are struggling as a real estate agent or as a salesperson or as a startup business or a small entrepreneur, do yourself a favor. Learn the art of cold calling. It will save you tremendous amount of bad actions, bad habits. It'll save you tremendous amount of valuable time. It'll save you tremendous amount of time on spending money on gimmicks and things and people and things you don't need or you might not need. But more importantly, it'll make you and train you to become a dynamic salesperson, a strong salesperson, a phenomenal and master closer. It'll increase your value. And if it increases your value, not only as a real estate agent, but as a salesperson as a whole, no matter what you're selling, You're always going to be in demand. You're going to be able to write your own ticket, whether you're a real estate agent or you're selling anything else, right? Because money follows value, which means people like to pay for value. And when you have value, people pay you your price. Very rarely you have to negotiate. And for those of you real estate agents out there, if you're tired of getting, paid 2.5%, or sellers telling you I'm only going to pay you 2.5% or 3%, and they dictate to you what your value is, that's because you haven't shown them your value. But if you show your value, right, and your skill, and you don't have the fear of objection, but you embrace objection, and you don't have the fear that you believe you're bothering them, but that they need you, and you got to get them to want what they need, which is you. You can ask 8-9% commission from the seller. That's right. You can even ask and negotiate the marketing cost for staging the property, marketing it, paying for the videographer, the photographer, putting it on different social sites, right? You can't do that. Cold calling can teach you to do that. Does that make sense? So, again, me personally, I would never, ever recommend to someone, and even if it didn't work for me, let's say cold calling didn't work for me, I would never tell people not to do it. Just because it didn't work for me doesn't mean it may not work for someone else, right? I just think it's a selfish thing to do. I would say, listen, you got to try cold calling, but you got to learn it the right way. And if you learn it the right way and you try everything you do and it doesn't work, then at least you tried it. The worst thing that can happen is you become a better salesperson still. You're still going to have more confidence than you did before. Does that make sense? So I know some top salespeople. I know some top real estate agents that, it took them years to get to that level, right? 20, 25 years. That doesn't happen overnight. But I believe if they would have learned and embraced cold calling, they were taught cold calling in the beginning of their real estate career, I think it would accelerate the learning curve. Instead of taking 20 years, it could have took them 5 years to be at that level. It took them 20 years. That's just my personal opinion. Does that make sense? And one last thing is, this is not to brag or to tap my own horn, but I have a client that's a real estate agent for 35 years, and she's been my client for 2 years. And she paid me the ultimate compliment. She said, what I've learned in 2 years cold calling for her and teaching her agent, I know more about real estate agent and being an agent than most agents. And because of that, I'm going to take my license to be a real estate agent. Because I'm good at what they should be good at. Does that make sense? So I hope this was helpful. Thank you for sharing your time with mindset and attitude to selling. Is cold calling dead? And should you learn cold calling? Share your comments below. If you found value in this video, do me a favor, smash the like button, share your comments, your thoughts, let me know what you think. If you want to have access to more selling videos and mindset and attitude to selling, just click the link below. It'll lead you to my YouTube channel. Subscribe is for free. Watch some of the additional videos, and all I ask is that you give me feedback on those videos and what your thoughts are. So, thank you for your time. Remember this. Ask yourself this question. Is cold calling dead? Have you truly tried cold calling? And were you trained properly? If you haven't, and you want to learn how to truly in other industries, direct message me. Share your comments. Let me know. And I'll get back with you within 24 hours. And I'll leave you with this. Master the art of cold calling and watch your value increase. Master the art of cold calling. Watch your listings grow. Master the art of cold calling and watch your commissions absolutely explode. Talk to you later. Bye.